Okay, everybody, we are live with another session of WSO Office Hours. Welcome. Hey, Loves Limp, how you doing? Getting some people joining right now. Hey, everybody, what's going on? Hey, Instagram. Hello, YouTube Live. I think I'm live, or it's working on it. Yeah, here we go. We are live on both, so that's good. So today, I'm happy to just chat about whatever anybody wants to. I have a hard stop in about 30 minutes, so it's not gonna be too long of a session. But yeah, that's about it. Hey, hi Hilda. Hey Japel. Hey everybody. Thanks for joining. So, what's going on, everybody, for this week? What's the latest? Everyone excited for the NFL draft? Think the Patriots are gonna move up in the draft to pick a franchise quarterback? That's what we're seeing. That's what I'm hoping for. Let me get the YouTube comments. So for all the people on Instagram, just a heads up that I am doing this also on YouTube Live, so that I can share screens for people who have questions and stuff like that. Do you only use your curved keyboard, and why did you buy it? That's a very random question. I bought this because I am sitting at this desk probably about 8 to 10 hours, 35 to 45 hours a week. And since I'm getting old, I have all these injuries, lower back injuries. So yeah, the curved keyboard is really just for make sure I don't get like any sort of carpal tunnel, because I'm old, as you can tell by my gray beard, since I'm typing a lot. Do you think the Patriots will draft Fields? Great question. I think the Patriots will hopefully draft Fields. I think they will if hopefully they can get it for like a second round this year if he slips to like 7 or 8. I have a feeling though. I have a feeling it's just gonna go quarterback, first 4 quarterbacks right off the board really fast. But I'm just hoping one slips low enough where the Pats can make a move. But if not, I don't know. I think the team is much better either way, even with mediocre to below average quarterback in Cam. And maybe Cam will be better this year. All right, we got some questions coming in on YouTube. Let's see what we see here. Mario says, have a super day in 30 minutes. I'm going to die. Mario, don't worry, man. No one's going to die. All you got to do is deep breaths, smile, and slow down, man. Slow down. Remember, what matters most is not if you get all the questions right, it's if they like you or not. And if you can communicate to them that you're a hard worker and you're willing to learn and you're excited about the opportunity at this stage in your career, that's probably the most important thing, is attitude and getting to know you. So if you don't know a question or a technical question, don't freak out. It's not the end of the world. You're not going to die, I promise. So don't freak out. Damon Fan asks, hey, Patrick, just curious, how did the Monkey to Millions thing start with Grace and John? How did you reach out to them or them to you? Thanks. We just held an application window, and we got a lot of great applications. I had people submit videos. Right now, I have Victor, Grace, and that's about it, just because I've been so busy. I may be willing to take on another mentor, or mentee, rather, to mentor for this upcoming year. I haven't decided yet, but if people want to submit some applications for that, feel free. Also, to help the channel and the algorithm, I always forget to ask this. If you guys could hit the like button and subscribe, that would be awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I don't even know how it works on Instagram. I'm so old. I guess if you can like it, that would be great if you guys could help me out. Steven said, no questions, a huge thank you for everything you're doing. Thank you, Steven, for paying attention. Jared says, Fields is going to be the best quarterback in the draft. Well, if that's true, I hope the Pats get him. It'll be interesting to see if the Jets actually do end up taking Wilson. Sounds like it's a kind of a foregone conclusion anyways. Does Wall Street Oasis mentor for business school admissions? This is coming from Shahal. Hey, Shahal. We have, I don't know if you're on our YouTube as well, but under mentors, there are now over 1,000 mentors, or I think over 850. There actually are over 1,000. It's just we haven't internally published them yet. So yes, we can do, that's a long way to say yes, we do help with business school admissions. If you were to purchase some of the bulk packages, like the longer hours, this is more in line with what you'd see from like a admissions consultant. Typically, the mentor services are used for like mock interviews, career consultations, stuff like that. But we have had clients use them for MBA admissions to help somebody who went to a top business. And we have tons of kids from HBS, Wharton, Stanford. Out of the 800, out of the 1,000, we probably have a good 150 to 200 people at like the top 7 business schools in there. So you could find somebody from almost any school that you'd be targeting. Hilda asks, do you mentor regular people who do not know much about trading or investment? Hilda, what I try to do is make sure that there's some level of knowledge there before. I don't want to just train necessarily anybody. I want somebody who's put in the work to at least become somewhat educated about what they want, because it's much easier to help them. So like, so I think, how do I say? I think it's easier to have somebody who's kind of, I actually like getting people early. So coming into freshman year, because I think it's a huge advantage. Victor's a lot older mentee of mine, and there's just a lot more struggles that go on with things that happen in life. And we're seeing that with him. So it's just harder. It's not to say that as you get older, it can't be done breaking in. It's just there's a lot more hurdles in there and a lot more complications around life. So if I can get a mentee that's kind of going into school, even if it's a non-target school, I actually kind of prefer non-targets, just because I don't want people seeing the mentor to Monkey to Millions and saying, oh, well, they just got in because they went to XYZ and they had a high GPA. I'd rather go help people who a little bit more non-traditional, maybe they're at a non-target school or whatnot. I think it's more interesting of a show to show the real struggles there, even if we're not successful. What else we got here? Let me check. Let me go back to YouTube. Divyam said, I committed to USC today for economics and math. I want to get into investment banking or private equity out of college, and I'm an international. What should I be doing in college? Hey, Divyam, I think the most important thing you could be doing in college is making sure early on, meaning from freshman year, that you're actually, like if you're trying to get to IB, that you're talking to as many actual investment bankers as possible. Because if you don't do that and you just leave it up to USC's Career Center and resume drops, you're more than likely going to be disappointed, just because it's not enough. It's just not enough nowadays. You have to have the technical interview skills, the behavioral interview skills, meaning you can actually explain why you want to do investment banking, why specific firms. So yeah, in terms of prep to show you're doing econ and math, so I think you're more liberal arts, but to show maybe you have some actual financial knowledge and some financial modeling skills, you might want to check out our financial modeling training courses. There's the elite package right here that kind of has 6 courses in one. Or if you're still kind of just learning the foundations, you could do like the foundations package, which has Excel modeling, accounting, and PowerPoint for finance, which are kind of like productivity courses to make sure you're actually fast. But those are good on the resume, because you could show that you've done some self-study. You could say a line like self-study for over 100 hours in X, Y, and Z, and then you get some of the keywords on your resume as a freshman is a good bet to try and get that first freshman summer internship. And I would say to everybody, freshman summer, if you can get anything related to investment banking, even if it's at a tiny 1-person, 2-person shop, it doesn't mean you're doing like filing and something totally, or database work that's totally unrelated to investment banking. Just try to get in there, because then you can always do some sort of project, suggest some sort of project that gets you a couple bullets on your resume that look really good and are relevant. So what else is being asked here? Yeah, so Ahmed says, I'm an incoming freshman at a non-target Fordham. I was wondering if you have any advice on what I should do this summer to prepare myself for investment banking. Yeah, Ahmed, I would definitely check out Monkey to Millions episodes with Grace. She's at Fordham right now. And she has done a tremendous job from right when I started with her right as she was coming into Fordham to now she's going to be finishing up her sophomore year. She already has two internships lined up, one at City, I believe, for this summer, and then next summer at Blackstone. So she's done an amazing job. Anyways, so I think let's look back at Instagram. Let's see what Instagram is saying here. Domo Winter says, would you ever sell Wall Street Oasis? Good question. Yeah, I'd consider it. I think I still love what I do every day. There's new challenges. It's exciting. There's new product development. It's helping manage a team, helping manage a community. There's fun things like this. Like I get to talk with all of you and do office hours. I get to help people, and we get a lot of love back for it, which is awesome. And the business is doing well. I think there's a lot of just untapped opportunity because we focus so much on community. We don't focus so much on the business side and monetizing what we've built. I've tried to get a little smarter around actually monetizing the business and doing more products and more courses. And in that vein, I still think there's a lot of upside for this business. We are launching in a few months something called WSO Alpha. WSO Alpha, the idea is that we're going to be curating kind of the best financial newsletters that are out there right now. Like if you go to Substack and you look at all the best ones that are the highest ranked, and the people, like I talked to, 30 to 40 different hedge fund analysts and equity research analysts over the last 4 to 5 months. And I basically said, who are the best? And I got a list, and then I basically went one by one talking to all of those people and trying to get license deals to get some of their high quality content into a kind of curated package for the WSO audience. So that's close to being launched. We're not there yet. It's still not exactly where I want it to be. I want kind of a good mix of not just like deep dive stock analysis, but I'd like there also to be kind of a mock or like a stock portfolio so people can follow along and get advice in terms of like opinions on why we would buy stock A and avoid stock B. Ideally, get some more advice around the financial markets that's less hype and more kind of fundamentally based on long-term value investing, less about just chasing the latest hot thing like a GameStop or a crypto, which I know is fun, but it's also a little bit more like gambling. Even though I'm also long crypto for full disclosure, so it's not that I don't like crypto. What else is going on here? Let's see what else people have to say. Hey, congrats, Akshay. You got into U Bocconi. People on WCO said it's a target for London IB. Would you have any advice for IB recruiting in London for an international? Akshay, it's very similar. I mean, in London, it's a little bit harder to do the whole networking thing. But I wouldn't shy away from it. It's still about who you know. The recruiting channels are a little bit more formal and more strict. So they won't formally say, hey, we're going to get you an interview. But if you're getting top grades and you're doing well, networking still matters. So again, keep doing that. And Bocconi absolutely is a target for London investment banking. So just make sure when you start, you're not going to have a ton of time to kind of get ready. Make sure you're prepping prior to starting, whether that's interview prep, networking, and all that. I mean, it's a full-time job, guys and gals out there. This is not something you can kind of just go in and be like, I'm kind of interested in investment banking. Let's see what happens, because there's too many kids out there, too many students that have been kind of training for this and working up toward it for several years. So you have to actually put in the work to stand out. Do I think other investment banks will match Bank of America's bump in base comp for associates? It's a good question. I don't even know what was the base bump. Probably like $20K or something, I think, from last time I checked. Hopefully, the people who are in there in the trenches doing a lot of the work and suffering the long hours are going to get compensated. Rather than like a bump in pay, I wish they would actually just try to reduce the hours somewhat and get some of those protected weekends and protected time off and actually enforce it. I think Goldman came out today saying that they admitted that some of the enforcements they had put in for protected time off from Friday night to Saturday that the enforcement had slipped, unfortunately. So hopefully that comes back. All right, here we go. Eric asks, hey Patrick, thanks for all your help. Just wondering if there's any hedge fund private equity that sponsor H-1B visas for international students beyond their OPT time. Not off the top of my head, Eric, but stay tuned for a podcast that's coming out in about 3 to 4 weeks. There is a mentor in our mentor network that was able to make the transition from private equity in London to private equity in the US. And he has a lot to say on just even the green card application, how he was able to kind of, I mean, this guy is super industrial, like the way, super sharp guy in terms of how he approached the whole thing to make it seem like, so his fund would actually do the work to help him get that green card. Let's see what goes here, but we'll have a ton of advice in that podcast that's coming out probably in 3 to 4 weeks. So stay tuned for that. And you can subscribe to the pod on iTunes. I think Spotify, it's there too as well. I'm going to ask another question on YouTube. Max Vanderlee says, hi, Patrick. Starting my first investment banking off-cycle internship next week at an industrials group. Any tips on how to prepare this week? I think it's tough when you're kind of... Are you still in school, Max? So it's tough. If you're still in school, just try to make sure that at least for the first several weeks, you're really making good first impression. You don't want to be that intern that comes in and kind of just disappears. Make sure that people are actually... you're going around, you're checking with the team to make sure that no one needs additional help. And unfortunately, a lot of it's going to just be attrition in terms of like how you prepare for this week. I mean, it's kind of late, like 1 week getting ready. I mean, you may want to brush up a little bit on like accounting and financial modeling, just to kind of get up to speed in valuation. What are trading comps? How do you spread them? With different adjustments, that type of stuff. Just so you're a little bit more well versed in case you do get a project like that so you can hit the ground running. Let's see what else we got here. So Jero says, senior at a non-target graduating this winter. I'm interested in getting into investment banking after graduation. I have an upcoming internship at this investment firm and I have other internships as well. Any advice? So Jero, an investment firm, I assume you mean like an asset management firm. It really depends. I mean, you're already a senior at a non-target and you're talking about an internship at an investment firm, which means to me that you don't have an investment banking internship and you're a senior. It's going to be really, really hard to actually land in front office investment banking. That being said, my advice would be you need to start talking to people immediately. And looking at your name, Garcia, I assume that you're probably Latino. O hablas español un poquito. If you can try to get into some of the diversity programs, it might be too late right now to do that. But if you should look into SEO, you should look into all these other programs. And there's threads on WSO that talk about different diversity programs that you could potentially apply to. You may actually want, if you can afford it, you may want to actually extend your graduation date. So instead of graduating early this winter, if you are unable to get a job that you feel like is, I mean, you may want to also look into transaction advisory services at the Big Four. That's a really nice feeder into investment banking. You may want to look into other corporate finance, FP&A gigs. I mean, at this point, your goal shouldn't necessarily be to just get into investment banking after graduation. Your goal should be to get a job after graduation that's a good kind of stepping stone that's going to give you some good experience. It's a little bit, it's around 6 months before you're done. Not to freak you out or anything, man. But for investment banking, some of these jobs are usually given out like a full year in advance. So and then the ones that aren't, the seats that aren't filled are typically filled with like lateral hires. So not to say that you can't do it, especially if you're targeting boutiques and middle market firms, but just so you said you did an internship at a public accounting firm earlier this year. What about trying to get into the transaction advisory services group there? Good, you're not freaked out. Okay, good. So so good luck. I mean, it's really just about who you know. So are you using LinkedIn? You connecting with 100 people a day? Because that's about what they let you before they kick you off. So you should be pushing those limits, trying to get on the phone with as many people as possible. That's your best shot at this point. You're not going to get in doing some sort of resume drop. Make sure your resume is super polished. You can check out our resume review service, or just ask the community, post it up there and be like, hey, rip it to shreds. They'll give you some good advice. And then if you want to go the free route, and then from there, just make sure it's once that document's fully polished, make sure you're just trying to get it on the phone with as many people as possible. And hopefully with the public accounting internship and the couple other internships you have, you can make it sound a little more bankified. But I wouldn't just limit your search to that this close to the game, or this close to being toward graduation, because you don't want to be graduating and then having to pay student loans and then having no income on the back end. So I think a lot of people feel like they have time, like if it's senior year, junior or senior year, and they don't realize that a lot of the seats are already taken, like it's already closed. Unfortunately, the reality is things have shifted earlier and earlier. So if you know later and later, it's just become even harder. So that's all I'd say. Zach says, is University of British Columbia a target school? Not that I know of, but potentially in Canada for like BMO and stuff. But let's check it out. Let me open up the investment banking report. I'm on YouTube, so I'm going to check out, I don't know, University of British Columbia. I'm going to check out university statistics. People on YouTube can see where I'm going here. So I'm going to look up British Columbia. Oops. British. So it's ranked 60th on other notable banks, but it looks like it has a good feeder, as I'd expect, into BMO, and that's about it. Bank of Montreal and a little bit at HSBC. Let me look on the bulge brackets. It's ranked 60th out of all the schools. Let me see here in bulge brackets. Let me see if it even shows up. Yeah. There we go. That worked. Oh, okay. This Yeti mic went haywire. I'm back. I got a few more minutes. I got about 10 more minutes. Let's see here. Okay, back to questions. Am I back, guys? Can you hear me? All right, I think YouTube or Instagram can hear me, so I'll keep going there for now until these guys confirm that they can hear me. Yeah, looks like I was losing a lot of people. Cool. All right, guys, thanks for sticking with me. Technical difficulties. Piano says, Patrick, thanks for doing this. Currently a valuation analyst at a mega fund. Any suggestions regarding pivoting to a decision-making and investing role? Appreciate it. Hey, Piano, this is actually really tough internally typically because just the politics of it. If you're in a valuation role or a kind of middle office support role, oftentimes the politics within there, they won't want to set a precedent of letting somebody go from a middle office or a support role to a front office investing decision-making role. So I think the best thing you can do is treat your goal of getting into investing or front office as a kind of a second job. So that means, the most likely thing you can get is at another firm. So I think leverage the mega fund name to get yourself on a lot of calls, and then talk about the transition you're wanting to make, and just keep asking that question to like 100 people. And then from there, ask for introductions and build that network out so that you can explain why you're interested in it. And you can tell, luckily valuation is very relevant to what you're doing. I assume mega fund is a private equity mega fund role. If so, I think you need to be able to talk you need to be really well versed in LBO modeling, sources and uses, and prove to them that you also understand the M&A process, diligence process, so that you're not just seen as like this guy or gal that's really strong in valuation but may have all these holes elsewhere as an applicant. So that's your job, to make sure you're like a fully well-rounded candidate before you kind of go out and do all this stuff. Let's see what else. Jared says, luckily I don't have any student loans because I've been doing a lot of work internship experience. Awesome. Happy to hear that, man. Student loans, it's no good. Thanks to my dad, I had no student loans. And mom. Thanks, guys. Let's see here. What else we got? I think, let me check Instagram because I'm like not good with this stuff. Okay. Okay. Tommy Square says, I made a mistake studying something that I don't enjoy. Now I found out that I'm really passionate for finance, but I don't know what to do because my degree doesn't even match the industry. What can I do? Well, luckily, Tommy, the good news is that people hire people. People don't hire degrees. So that's the first thing. The second thing I'd say is just reading your posts, it's pretty clear that English is not your first language, or your writing needs a lot of work. So I think you're going to struggle in any sort of job search if your writing isn't improved or your English isn't improved. So especially if you're trying to apply for jobs where English is the primary language. So I think that's the first thing you need to address. The second thing you need to address is actually realizing that if you don't fit into your Tommy Square, it's funny that your name is Tommy Square. If you don't fit into the right kind of profile, the only other way you're going to get in or get a shot is doing internships, just hustling, unpaid internships, anything you need to get that first break, that first finance type role. Now, in the meantime, you can supplement it with stuff that makes it look like you're super passionate about finance. So are you joining associations related to finance? Are you getting those on your resume? Are you joining other groups? When you say passionate, and then the other thing that is a big warning, red flag to me, when somebody says, I'm super passionate about finance, but they can't go one or two or ideally 3 levels deeper in terms of specifically why. Finance is such a huge monster umbrella term that if you're saying you're passionate for finance, but you're not specifically saying like what part of finance, is it the stock market? Is it trading? Is it mergers and acquisitions? Is it a specific industry within there? Even better. The more niche, the more specific, the more detailed you can be around what you actually are passionate about, and more importantly, why, the better the story is going to be, and the more likely someone's going to go out of their way to help you get that first shot. So that's my main advice for you, Tommy. Is number 1, language skills. Number 2, you're going to need a lot. You're going to need to know a lot more than just I'm passionate about finance as this broad umbrella term, because you won't get anywhere with that. Not to be a downer. Hopefully that wasn't a downer. Let's see here. What do you guys think about the idea? I have a question for you guys. What do you guys think of the idea of a cryptocurrency, a banana coin or cryptocurrency in WSO, the community? I was looking at one of my friends was over this weekend, and she was talking about something called Rally Coin. Has anybody heard of Rally Coin? Or a Rally token? I can pull it up here on my screen. It's interesting. It's for like creators. I don't know. Let me see if I can pull it up. I thought it was interesting. You could launch a coin, but it's mostly for more like artists and Twitch streamers and gamers. But I thought it'd be interesting if they had a good API to be able to tie it into the WSO community and like reward the WSO members and fans and community with like different activities and stuff. I thought it'd be really fun to kind of tie bananas, like maybe our silver bananas, to that, and like different actions within the community. But I didn't know if anybody had any thoughts on it, or if that's a really bad idea. It could also incentivize people to do really annoying stuff on the site, like write scripts to post a ton of crappy posts. So we have to be careful with that. Let's see what we got. Eric says, I'm using a master's in finance at Simon to get to the US, but listening to you, I realized that networking should start years in advance. What should I do to make up for that if I want to get into a hedge fund? Eric, what type of hedge fund? Like a long short hedge fund? Again, a lot of the opportunities around this is going to be specifically tied to who you know and the ideas you're actually able to write. So if you want to go into a hedge fund, more than just a master's, they don't care about an MBA or a master's in finance. Like what they really care about are your ideas and your edge and your research chops and all that stuff. So, long short. So are you a member of Value Investing Club? Are you a member of all this potentially Sum Zero, all these other kind of communities? That's have your ideas been ranked? That's going to give having some traction there and some documentation around like picks you've made and research you've done. I think it's going to go much further than any sort of master's in terms of being able to market yourself. But that being said, like it's not a bad way to get into the US, but it's almost like an expensive way to get yourself into the US. And the reality is, if you're international, like a lot of these small hedge funds, they're not going to be sponsoring you. Like there needs to be a whole infrastructure oftentimes in place, and it's pretty hard to sponsor. So unfortunately, it's not like an easy answer. What should I do to make up for that if I want to get into a hedge fund? I mean, I'd be talking to people right now before you even go, because especially with the master's in finance, it's like 1 year. So like you literally get on campus, or you literally get there and you're recruiting right away. So if you don't have anything built up, I wouldn't lean on the school just to provide that. Let's see. SA 2020 Aspirant says, hey Patrick, thanks for hosting this. I interned at a big 6 Canadian bank this winter, got a return offer, and I want to get looks at a Toronto office at the global banks, but having a hard time reaching out to people who aren't my school alum. Yeah, so if you're having a hard time reaching out to people who aren't your school, meaning people aren't responding, there's not a good hit rate. Well, I'd expect that, but I wouldn't give up after one try. I'd hit them 3 times over a period of four or 5 months. Yeah, so I'd make sure you're reaching out to every single investment banker in Toronto. First. So like if you're getting zero, I mean, one of the tricks is when you connect with somebody on LinkedIn, you actually get their emails. Don't be doing LinkedIn in mails and stuff like that. So 5 to 10% is not a horrible connection rate. Have you been able to get on the phone with any of them? Are you at a non-target? Let me see. Unfortunately, I got to go, guys, because I got a call coming up. But for Eric, you said, yeah, the master's just for getting the OPT time. I got a full scholarship. Okay, then I think it makes a lot of sense, Eric, that you're going there just to get in here. But just don't expect anything from the master's in terms of getting you a job in a long short hedge fund. Don't expect that. That's all I'd say. It's just try to come in, having done as much groundwork prior to coming to school. Semi-target 5 to 10 people every year, says SA22 aspirant. Well, in that case, are you saying you're not able to get any interviews, or they're just not getting on the phone with you? Is there any way you can go to Toronto? I know there's a lockdown now there. That makes things even harder. I would try to get there for when things open up. Let's see. Let me say that. I got a return offer. I want to get looks at banks. So the return offer is good. It's just, yeah, unfortunately, like Toronto's a pretty small market. So you can literally go through all the, you can try networking with all of them, and if you didn't do it the right way, or like you give up too early, you could end up running out of potential people to talk to. But I'd assume there's at least 3 to 500, 600 people you should be talking to. So I'd keep emailing them. Neither interview nor calls with them live here in Toronto. Well, I think you need to get on calls with them first. Just ask for 5 minutes of their time. Take a look at some of the Monkey to Millions advice that I give in terms of how to structure that and how to word those emails. Make sure you're emailing. Make sure you're using something like Right Inbox or Boomerang to remind yourself when to follow up. Eric asked, do I see Patriots giving up Gilmore for moving up in the draft? I don't, but who knows? It's going to be a wild Thursday. All right, everybody, I got to run, unfortunately, but thanks so much for joining another WSO Office Hours. Please hit the like, subscribe, whatever buttons there to help the algo. Yeah, love all you guys, and I'll see you next week. Take care.